attention, we can hear the fan. And the intellect, that's the ear, the mind is registering that sound. The intellect, oh, that's a fan. Or that's the air conditioning heating system of the temple room. I can't, so it's just inductive reasoning. But then there's spiritual sound. And when it's possible, the advocacy of Bhaktisiddhanta is to engage in hearing with the spiritual ear, and then with the spiritual ear we hear the spiritual sound, and when you hear the spiritual sound, voila. We heard yesterday what happens when you hear the spiritual sound. Rupa Goswami taught us in Vedanta Madhava. When that spiritual sound enters the courtyard of the heart, it dances. The sound dances in the courtyard of the heart, and the mind, that's the material one, becomes stunned. And the senses become inert. Yoga. So, I'm going to go on as if you can see what's on my screen, although you can't see what's on my screen. So there's the material or mechanical chanting. There's a nice photograph of Bhaktisiddhanta. And the next image that you can't see is just repeating with graphics, but repeating. We're practicing. This is a japa retreat. We're chant japa daily, all of us probably. And we heard yesterday, both from Hari Bhakti Vilas and from Patanjali, these three criterion that make for practice, because we're sadhana, we're sadhakas. Those three things. For a prolonged period of time. Anyone was not here with us yesterday? Okay, so, you weren't with us yesterday. Okay. Patanjali, you know who is Patanjali? Yes? Shri Radha Shyamasundara ki jai. Patanjali is celebrated for his Patanjali Yoga Sutras. It's a book, very terse, it's sutras, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, describing yoga. And there's a whole section, verses 1 through 15, that are described the practice of. And verse 14 is abhyasa, the practice, and it has 3 parts. 3 parts. That's what we're doing when we chant japa. It's steadiness or continuous or nairantarya. Every day, dirgha kala, for a prolonged period of time. Those are 2. Every day, for a prolonged period of time, and then there's another qualifier, satkara, translated in different ways, but it's with respect and reverence and devotion, or putting it in simple language, the confidence is going to get you to where you want to go. Now it's good to know where you want to go. If you don't know where you want to go, good luck getting there. But if you have a clear idea where you want to go, satkara is confidence that you get there. Or we heard yesterday the whole presentation on adara, with respect, because it's going to get you there. Patanjali has his and our acharyas have theirs. They're saying the same thing. So just 3 definition of practice for yoga, whether it's chanting or it's any type of yoga that's done properly. The practice, abhyasa, like in Bhagavad Gita, abhyasa yoga yuktena cetasa nanyagami, abhyasa practice. Every day, for an extended period of time, with confidence it's going to get you to where you want to go. Adara, or satkara. And so then we're practicing, and there's this nice image that you saw yesterday. The ear, and the sound goes in the ear. And then when the sound goes in the ear, now I'm going to read, this is from Bhakti Siddhanta, this is the short class this morning, purposely short. He wrote letters, and he had his letters saved because he kept a procedure he used, I don't know, but he kept a copy and he sent a copy. And then the copy that he saved was later published. And this is, and then published in a book. And this particular letter I like, and it's just in English. I assume it's in English. It may have been in Bengali. The name of the Lord and the Lord Himself are not 2 separate entities, but one. Abhinatvam nama namino. The name and the person named are not different. There's one entity. When the sound of the holy name passes over the lips, the conditioned sense of hearing, material, and the conditioned consciousness initially process the sound as if it were material, and that is how it is perceived. As a result, only the external ear hears it. Paragraph. Since the other senses and mind, so 6 senses, 5, and the head or the predominating deity is number 6, the mind. 6 senses, which include the mind. So the other 4 plus the mind, which is the collector of sensory experience, are envious of the ear, which they consider to be an equal partner. The result is that such chanting does not affect the cleansing of anarthas. There's impurities in the heart, and those impurities in the heart don't get cleansed by that kind of hearing. So what to do? We do not have the capacity even to theoretically know that the name and the Lord of the name are one. Then he uses a metaphor, like this, so that. So the metaphor is, in Vedic culture, a piercing of the ear is one of the Vedic rites for a young child. Similarly, when our spiritual ear has been pierced by the holy name, and the other senses give up their envy of the auditory sense. So like Rupa Goswami's verse. When the sound goes to the courtyard of the heart, it dances in the courtyard of the heart. And the mind becomes stunned and the senses become inert. That's Rupa Goswami's way of saying what Bhakti Siddhanta is saying here. I'll read it again. They, that's the other 5, the mind plus the other 4 physical senses, this is spiritualizing the covering through sound, and the sound being a spiritual sound. They no longer quibble with the ear, which alone can perceive transcendental sound. Then the flood of prema pours forth from all the spiritual senses and cleans away the contaminants of opposition and malice. Remember the discussion yesterday, those of you that are with us. Bhaktisiddhanta saying that that which brings us to the material world is dvesha, or envy, misuse of the free will of the living entity, adversity to the supreme, and attraction to the temporary. And that's our material condition. 2 more paragraphs and we're done. Thereafter, the Lord's beautiful form, qualities, associates, and pastimes are revealed in the name, capital H, himself, not itself. Everything is within the name because the name is Krishna. So the revelation of everything in relation to Krishna comes through the name because within the name is everything. And that's how we get to the spiritual position in this age of Kali. That's through the name. And then everything becomes revealed if we hear with the spiritual ear. And experienced by the chanter as something quite distinct from his previous experiences in the mundane world, then the kinds of worries and distractions of the mind becomes stunned. The worries and distractions of the mind that are typical of the conditioned living being cannot remain. The mind doesn't stop, but the mind becomes spiritualized. So an unspiritualized mind is the material one. A spiritualized one is the one that's fixed on Krishna. Last paragraph. When we learn to hear as we chant, the opportunity to remember Krishna will automatically arise. At that time, Ashtakaliya Lila Smarana. For those of you not familiar with that, Ashtakaliya Lila is there's 24 hours, and you divide 8 into 24, you get divisions. And those divisions are 8 in number, and Krishna does different things at this time, at that time, at that time. And it's a smarana, it's a kind of meditation to meditate upon during the particular time of day, the pastimes of Krishna during that particular time of day. And that was prevalent, that practice was prevalent during Bhaktisiddhanta's time. Now he is saying, no. Rather, he's saying, yes. The yes is engage in hearing, and all of that comes. There's no need. It's artificial. It's not, he is the guru of those who he's addressing. This is some particular disciple. It doesn't mention the name. It just says 18th December 1928. There's no need to do all that because it comes by itself. Or the mind absorbed in the name brings remembrance of the pastimes of Krishna in the heart or in the mind. Because everything is within the name. Form, quality, pastimes, everything within the name. So that's the hear with the spiritual ear. Now, how do you practice that? Practical application. How do you practice that? Well, the principle of practice, abhyasa, there's 3 elements, remember? Every day, for a prolonged period of time, with faith that it'll get you there. So this intelligence directs the mind. That's when things are in proper order, that's what happens. The intelligence, indriyani paranyahur, this is a verse from Bhagavad Gita. The senses are superior to dull matter. The mind is superior to the senses. Intelligence is superior to the mind. And above all is the soul. So spiritualization is to have proper alignment. So with intelligence, you can direct the mind. And just by practice and practice and practice and practice, you get, you go to a good spiritual chiropractor, and you get alignment of your nervous system, your spine, and you sit properly. Have you heard that recording? Some of you may have heard that recording. They're chanting japa. A devotee told me I was the one that Prabhupada was instructing, because this was at 61 2nd Avenue, before they had 26 2nd Avenue, was across the street and up a little bit, the loft. And there was an altar, and Nayana Param was kind of slumped like a sack of potatoes against the altar, chanting. He told me, personally. You hear Prabhupada chanting japa, it's a recording of Prabhupada chanting japa, and he stops chanting, you can hear him stop, and he just, with a stern voice says, sit properly. So that's an important element in being able to hear, is to sit. Chant properly is to sit properly. That head and neck in a straight line, etc. It's yoga. Supposing you don't sit like that. Don't sit slumped over. I want to stay here with the spiritual ear. Because though there are things that help hearing with the spiritual ear, sitting properly helps. But the essence is hear with the spiritual ear. Hear with attention, not just with the material ear. The sound goes in. You can describe the sequence of events. There's the eardrum, and then when the eardrum vibrates because of the sound, there are nerve endings, if your body is hooked up properly. Nerve endings pick up that vibration of the eardrum. It sends that to the brain, signal to the brain. That's the gross physical body. Then there's the subtle body. The bell rings, and the mind, the subtle perceiver of the sense perception, hears, thinking, feeling, willing, then direction from the intelligence, and so forth. So there's the physical hearing, and then there's the spiritual hearing of a spiritual sound. And hear with the spiritual ear. With these three factors. Every day, for a prolonged period of time, with great faith and confidence, it's going to get you to where you want to go. Satkara, with devotion and reverence and proper regard. 64-round day, that's what we traditionally call our japa retreats. It's very nice. I'm going to read the final 3 slides. It says the graphics change, but the message is, by cultivating our connection with Sri Krishna in his vikara form, vikara means sound, gradually and naturally we will be invested with a potency which will touch and touch and transform our hearts and the hearts of others in amazing and unprecedented ways. So now that's a statement, and the statement from Scripture, essentially. And so having faith in Scripture, we have faith in the statement. We have faith in the process of chanting, at least to some degree. So, best of luck to all of you in your 64-round day. And now I'm going to end abruptly and invite you two things. Remember the instructions in the course of yesterday. Those of you that weren't with us yesterday, you can go back again some point in time and hear the recordings from yesterday so you get the full potential benefit of what we heard and discussed. From those principles that you recall, strive to hear that the sound go directly to the soul, not let it stop with the conventional type of hearing. So, focused, eat one mantra at a time. One mantra at a time. One mantra at a time. As you're chanting, however many times you chant, one mantra at a time. Be present, be mindful with the act of chanting. And we'll get back again. So when we break chant, at some point in time, there's breakfast. Reminder, when you're having breakfast, unless you're with children, Mauna Vrata, from the moment we end just this morning, until in the afternoon we'll come back together. And we'll have a discussion what your experience was. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
तिरुपति महाप्रसाद महाराज विकिपीडिया.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. You will be here. Okay.